Hello, everyone, everywhere. This is Bob Thibodeau with the Kingdom Crossroads podcast, and you are listening to the Going North podcast with my good friend Dom Brightman. Be sure to subscribe to his podcast so you will not miss any of the upcoming episodes, and be blessed in all that you do.
Today's episode is sponsored by book number 2 from Dom Brightman, Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. It is the field guide to help unleash the elite performer that is inside of you. Cop it today on Amazon.com or heading over to dombrightman.com and snag it in book, ebook, and audio book, so that way you can take it on the go and get yourself on the go to your northbound success. And today on Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as GMP, the great, glorious, and glamorous, it's the Going North podcast, and we got another super special, awesome human for you today, courtesy of the magical site podmatch.com, where they basically light up all the cigarettes, aka the microphones, with their wonderful podcast that interviews wonderful humans. Because today's guest in particular, she's a fellow child of the king, baby. That's right, a fellow child of the king, y'all. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. And she's been a communicator since coming out the womb, folks. That's right, since coming out the womb, because she's also a fellow podcast host as well. Actually, you know what? A fellow bookcaster, y'all, because she not only has published multiple books, but she's also a podcast host indeed, y'all. That's right indeed. Host of her own show, Positively Joy indeed, and she loves to give God the glory, and she also has a background in journalism, and she also has her own Bible journal because she loves that word, y'all. She loves that word indeed. So let's give it up for the YW herself, the one and only Yvette Walker. How you doing today, Yvette?
What an introduction. Thank you so much. I'm well. I am well.
Yeah, the intro is usually the best part of the show before the rabbit hole show up.
No. Thanks. I really appreciate it. Dom, thanks for letting me be here. And I really enjoy podcasting. I love the Lord using communication skills, all the gifts that he may have given me for his glory. And that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's right indeed. That's right indeed. So my goodness. So with the journalism background, was that something you always wanted to do and that manifested and morphed in the multiple ways that it has now? Or did you really think you're going to be going to the moon or even back to Venus?
Well, of course, never even thought that there'd be podcasting, when I was little, because it didn't exist. But yeah, I always enjoyed writing, loved telling stories, loved just communicating, sharing with people. So yeah, I've been writing for a long time. I was on the newspaper staff and yearbook staff in high school and college, of course, and then majored in journalism, did some internships, and then started out working for newspapers. And then, of course, this is before the internet. So was working in print shops, as we like to call them, for several years, and then kind of morphed into working with newsrooms that were going into the internet and using websites to share that message. And so helped kind of in a couple of cases kind of get that started, really helping the newsroom come on board with using blogging and understanding how to tell stories that way. So I've been in the business for quite a while. And then in 2015, I had the amazing opportunity to become an assistant dean at a journalism college. So didn't think, I always thought that I might move into education at some point. Didn't think it was going to be just yet, but that was an offer I could not turn down. And so I am working daily with young people who want to be the next generation of what I do. So it's really great. Love working with the young people who are interested in the industry and seeing how all that's going to transition. So that's what I'm doing right now. But, what's that expression? Can't keep a good man down. I had to keep communicating. And once I understood that I could use this new way of communicating, mainly podcasting, started getting into that. But you know what? I actually thought that I was going to do a podcast on the same subject that my first book was about. And my first book was about hair and beauty. And said, okay, I'm going to start this podcast, and it's going to be on what I like to call the intersection of beauty, politics, and hair, because those of us who like to wear our hair natural, it's being embraced these days, but there was a time when it wasn't. So I said, that would be a really interesting conversation, and it would be. But the Lord said clearly, nope, it's not going to be about that. It's funny, I did see that movie yesterday. It's not going to be about that. It's going to be about joy. And I said, okay, I didn't know really what other than joy it was going to be about, but we've been doing it for 2 years now, and over time, he has continued to reveal to me exactly what he wants people to know about joy, and it's that joy is not a feeling, it's faith in the Lord. So that's where we are.
Yeah, that's right indeed. So do you think you might branch out and make a side show called Joyful Hair?
No, but the funny thing is, actually, in year one, we actually had what I call the Positively Joy Hair Week. It was interviews with 3 people who were all Christians but had a hair story to tell. So I snuck it in there a little bit. And
Uh,
2 women and 1 man, because there are men who have hair stories too.
oh yeah, yeah, especially those days, you know. Yeah, you know, sometimes the perm don't always want a perm, you know. Yeah. Let me stop. The Jerry curl becomes a Jerry Springer, but that's
That's another story, right?
yes indeed, yes indeed. So my goodness, so with the love of hair and basically having that wonderful pit stop, you had your metaphorical road to Damascus, and now you're basically an expert on joy and basically helping folks to have that wonderful joy. My goodness, you got these wonderful books too. So with all that creativity, like what's next for you in terms of books? Because you got so many out. Is there a particular direction folks should be on the lookout for?
So I really do love to write. Always love to write, and that's why I knew I was going to go into that business. So that first book was an anthology of stories about different people and their hair, as I said. But after I made the transition, did the podcast, and really knew I wanted to focus more on helping people understand that you could be joyful no matter what's going on in your life. You just need to understand that the Lord is with us, and that get into His Word, and you can understand that a little bit. In fact, our scripture, our signature scripture, comes from the Gospel of John, chapter 15, where Jesus literally explains exactly how to find joy, and that is to do the Father's will, abide in His love, and then be filled with the only joy that will complete us. So once I kind of discovered that, and I've been sharing that, I did Whispering in His Ear, which is the devotional. It's basically a month's worth of devotions that you can spend 2 days with each devotions, 15 devotions in there, with a bonus one at the end, with exercises and prayers to basically help you understand some life lessons that I give in the book. Most recently, though, I thought, this would be great if people could share this with, say, a small group or study group. So a companion study guide is coming out before the end of the year, so that if people who have the book or want to get the book wanted to do the study with some friends or with people at church, then they could have the study guide too. So that's coming out. And then right now, though, because I do believe that writing nonfiction and devotion is wonderful, of course, fine. But God is the God of creation. I think He has given us a lot of creativity. So I've been writing some fiction, and I'm writing fiction via Amazon Kindle Vella, which is a platform where you write short novellas in episodes. And so I've been doing that. One is about a journalist who was a police reporter and has been called back to the scene of her first big story, which was a serial killer. And then another one, which is a fiction story about a woman who is trying to get her brother back into the country, and there is kind of a dystopian apocalypse happening. So there's some fiction out there right now, which I'm enjoying writing, kind of using those creative skills again that he has given me. Not necessarily, well, and I will say this in one of the book, well, in both of the books, they are Christian, my characters. In one of the books, I'm kind of focusing more on that, where she's got some Christian healing skills. But that's what I'm working on right now. And so one is called 60 and the other one is called Doe, DOE. And if you are an Amazon Kindle Vella reader, you can find my work there. And after that, though, I do want to write more about this idea of joy. Again, as I'm continuing to do the podcast and listening to people's stories and understand just how that affects all of us. I know there's a book in there about that. And so I'm still, at the very beginnings of that, just kind of thinking about what that could be about and trying to use it to understand this gift. In many cases, he's given us because, he's given us, there's joyful gifts and then there's fruits of the spirit, and joy is among them. And so just understanding what that is and how we can apply it to our daily lives.
Yeah, that's right, indeed. That positive joy, y'all. That's right. She's helping y'all get that PB and J without the B, y'all. That's right. That's right. That positive joy, y'all. That's right, indeed. That's right.
That's okay. God likes humor. He can be funny, right?
Oh yeah. That's right, indeed.
Yeah.
Especially when there's corn and cheese involved. Yes, indeed. That's right, indeed. It's the main export of this podcast: corn and cheese. That's right. Via the jokes.
That's right. No, I mean, I love it that he has given us so many skills and gifts and creativity. In fact, I have an episode on the fact that, God is the God of creativity, because look at what he created. And in one episode, I talked to a Bible journal. And when I talk about Bible journalers, these are people who create artwork in their Bibles. In again, not their study Bibles, it's a separate Bible they use to do this. And there are crafters and creatives who are Christians who are able to use that. And so really like that idea of God as a God of creativity, as because of what he's given us, as well as, being our savior and the person that walks with us always. And I know sometimes people go through a lot of very difficult times, and it is hard to try to see that. And so I always like to say when I'm talking about this, that I'm not trying to be flippant. I'm not trying to say, oh, just, something bad happened to you, just smile, walk it off. He's there with you. And I'm not saying that, because many of us go through tragedy and really difficult things. But what we can count on is that he is there with us. And so we know that the Lord never told us that there would not be trouble, but he did say that he'd be there with us. And so we know we can count on him, and we know through his word that he can give us the kind of joy, he can fill us with the kind of joy and comfort and peace that we really can't seem to get except through this supernatural way. So yeah, that's what it's all about, for sure.
Yeah, you brought up a good point right there, indeed, because some folks may be like, yeah, joy, yeah. I know those people on Mondays at work, like, I think they sneak something special in their coffee or the drink that they don't tell people about. So, for those who may be a little bit on the skeptical side of the game, like, what helps you to really have that positive joy and, heck, even have it sustainable? Because it's a lot different from just happiness.
Absolutely. It's not happiness at all. I mean, you can be joyful and happy, but you can be joyful and sad. And it's also about what we're chasing. So many people are chasing a lot of things. They're chasing people, they're chasing substances, they're chasing finances. And really the only thing that we should be chasing and seeking is our creator. So I think a lot of sadness can come from the fact that we are seeking things that we shouldn't be seeking. But even if we live just the most amazingly holy life, it's clear from the characters in the Bible that it is possible to suffer even when you are the most holy person. So it doesn't mean, again, everything is going to go exactly right. But I think we can see peace and comfort And I want to say that sometimes it's just, you can't really even describe how you're getting the peace and comfort. Like you might be in a difficult situation at work or whatever, and you should be really stressed out, but for some reason you're not. Sometimes it's you can't explain it, but you just know that through the reading of his word and through spending prayer time with him, it just it's just better. So it's hard to say exactly, what's in the coffee, what's in the tea, except for, it's the good stuff that he's given you.
Ah, yeah, that's right indeed. That's right indeed. So, has there been a time in your life that really helped you to really dig into really studying joy for yourself and making it basically, I guess, your one major theme of life, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Oh yeah, it is really. And just like everybody else, there's been sadnesses, there's been things like that. My sister was very ill in 2021, and I was concerned about her making it, and it was just really really tough. And I think that in my mind I was just kind of going numb, and just going numb so that if something happened I wouldn't hurt so much, right? But usually when those things happen, I have a what I call a spiritual mentor, and I happened to call her up, and and she said, Yvette, you should not go numb, because when we go numb, and when we go numb either to situations or numb to our faith, then we are not, oh gosh, we are not really understanding the full spirit and joy that's out there. And so turning your feelings off, getting numb to things, which is what I think I had done in part of my life, even though I'm going to church, even though I would consider myself a very normal Christian, turning off that pure desire to seek the Lord just because, oh, I'm going to church every Sunday, I'm whatever, it's no big deal, made me realize that I had definitely lost the joy of seeking him and the joy of knowing that he's there. So when my sister got much better, she is much better today, but during that time, that was a scary time. And I remember feeling that numbness come over me, like I was just waiting for something bad to happen. Now, true enough, your will be done, Lord, right? There's things that we can't control. So you could say that. You could say that maybe I was just getting ready, your will be done, whatever. But I, again, was not communing. I was not in his word. I was not trying to find the joy that would fill me, which is what Jesus says in the Gospel of John, chapter 15. So I think that we just always have to keep our eye on the prize. We can't let go of that. We have got to always be in seeker mode. And we can be a believer and not seeking, but we need to be believing and seeking. And to me, that is what is the difference. So if you ask me, this I think I had a bit of a revelation in 2019 when I went to a retreat and decided I needed to get back into the word and spend time with him. And over time, from 2019 and till today, that has been the difference. The difference for me is that I'm no longer just believing, I'm actually really trying to seek daily. And I'm human too. There are busy days, and there's days when you just want to Netflix and chill. I get that. I get that. But yeah, you've got to do more than that. A couple things help. Whether or not you have a church family, because some people are in places where maybe they just can't get to a church family, or their churches have closed because of COVID. I mean, a lot of things happen over the last couple of years, but staying in communion with other people who are like-minded, even chatting via Zoom, talking to people, not isolating yourself, and staying in his word, and having a group like this can really be helpful, I think. Small groups are great, even if they are not in person, just reading books together, sharing all of that are all ways, I think, to help. And I actually have a resource on the website positivelyjoy.com that talks about 5 ways to kind of, if you want to choose joy, if you want to make joy a habit, 5 ways to help you prepare yourself, your surroundings, your day, how to build some time in your day, how to create a space in your home to help you choose that joyful habit. And you can get it there for free.
Oh, yeah, there you go. That's right. Yvette got gifts, y'all. That's right. Don't need to wait till no Christmas, y'all. That's right. Yvette got gifts, y'all. That's right. Them 5 tips.
That's
Indeed.
right.
That's right. Indeed. That's right. Indeed. Yes, indeed. So, my goodness, a lot of wonderful stuff. A lot of gems she's dropping, y'all. That's right. Indeed. She's dropping the magical gems. So, my goodness, so since you're a wonderful lady of faith, were you always Christian? Were you raised in the church and got it at a young age and you still kept it going?
Yes, and yes, and yes. But again, there was this time when I was not in seeker mode. So I was raised Catholic, baptized, cradle Catholic, went to Catholic elementary school, went to Catholic high school, always went to church. But then as we grow up, we get busy in our lives, we get busy in the world. And so I'm a journalist, and as I told you before, when you are an early journalist, especially, you move around. You look at the different opportunities at different newspapers or newsrooms or websites these days, and you find out, where can I go? So I moved around a lot, and every time you move, you got to find new church family, right? So, but I continue to do that. I continue to go to church, but my answer to you is yes and yes. Yes, I was raised, and yes, I stayed. But there was that time in the middle when I like to say I was sleepwalking in my faith. I was going to church, but it just wasn't what I'm doing now. So that's when you got to realize, what am I really doing here? And do I really want to know more? Do I want to have all the gifts that I can get from the Lord, what he wants to give me? And again, going into seeker mode, which has really just been the last 3 years for me. And I'm so blessed for it. And that's why I'm just kind of shouting it from the rooftops that it can be for you too.
Ah, there you go. That's right. So, what broke you out of your sleep for during your sleepwalking phase?
Well, I think I came into contact with an old friend of mine one time. We were chatting on the phone, and this would have been maybe in maybe 2000, in the early 2000s. And she said, you sound like you might be depressed. And it was weird because I never considered myself depressed at all. And I think that she was right. I think that I was depressed, but in a way that I wasn't really able to understand, because just in my daily life I wasn't at all. So I think I continued to think about that and look at that and pray on that for a while. um, but it took me a while. It took me to this conference in 2019. I don't know if you're familiar with the singer-songwriter Rita Springer. In fact, she has a new podcast. She has written a lot of songs that, if you knew it was her, you're like, oh, I know that song. I know that song, right? Anyway, she did a really great retreat that I went to, as I mentioned, in 2019. And we were doing this exercise where we were talking about hearing the voice of God. And like a lot of people, I think that we can hear from God when we're younger, when we're little boys and little girls, when we don't have all these other things that we're thinking about. But I had come to realize that I wasn't hearing from him anymore. This was another part of the process that I was beginning to find that I was sleepwalking through my faith, because I wasn't hearing from him. I didn't feel like I knew he was with me, but I didn't feel like it, right? And so we were doing an exercise that kind of made me think about that, and I think awakened that in me, to really listen. And and when I say hear from him, I'm not saying that I actually hear, you know whole have conversations in whole sentences. I do believe that some people do. Now, I'm not that, but definitely getting messages or understanding his will for me, 100%. That I do believe. And so I began to try to be still, as he tells us to be still and know that he is God, and try to listen for those messages, and be open to ideas that he may give us. For example, here's kind of a funny story. So the name of the podcast, Positively Joy, is not grammatically correct. Now, nobody else cares about that, but I'm a journalist and words are very important to me. So in the very beginning, and in fact, if you go back to episode 1 of the podcast, it was called the Finding Joy podcast. But then I realized that there was like a million other podcasts called Finding Joy. And I was like, okay, I think I need to change this podcast. I think I'd done one episode. So I was just trying to be still and listen and think about what this name could be. And he gave me the name Positively Joy. And I said that that is not grammatically correct. I personally would never choose that name. I would never come up with that name because it's not grammatically correct. It would be positively joyous or positively joyful, right? But that's not what he said. So I said, okay, Lord, if that's what you wanted to be, fine. And so I named it that. And people like it. I don't know. People think it's catchy. I don't know what it is, but I have to give him the credit. That's not mine. He came up with that name.
Yeah, that's right. It's probably because of the PJ factor. It's like, yeah, I could be my PJs listening to PJ. That's right. And if I'm not mistaken, it's an award-winning show too now, right?
Yeah, it is. I was really happy. I won the Best Podcast Award from Spark Media last year. So yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. It was not Best Podcast. It was Best Podcast Interview because I'm an interview show. So Best Podcast Interview Award from Spark Media, and I was just very pleased to be recognized in that way because there's a lot of really great podcasts out there, and so yeah, that was kind of exciting.
Oh
I will
yeah.
I will say this. I tend to have a lot of irons in the fire, especially in the summer before school starts again. And so there's another new podcast that had just been launched, and it does have to do with journalism. So it's called, oh, you'll like this. You'll like this. And I did not do this on purpose. It's called Journalist Advancing Ministry, or JAM for short. So now I got the P. I got another PJ, right?
Well, I guess that's my jam, huh?
Is that your jam? Yeah. But you know what it's about? It's about people who have been in media or who have been journalists who have moved into ministry. And there's quite a
Oh,
few of us. So
oh
either
wow.
people who have moved into full-time ministry or doing online, ministry like I'm doing with the podcast and with the website and everything. And so, yeah, we just launched that. My first episode was about a reporter who became a pastor. I did a great interview today with the wife of a pastor who has passed on, but he was a Pulitzer Prize winning reporter
Oh
and
wow.
became an associate pastor. So we had a great conversation today, and that's coming up, I think, probably in October. I can't say why I'm doing this. I just think that it's so interesting that there are people from media who are moving into ministry. And when I talked to her, she was like, you know what? I never thought about it, but I know 4 people just off the top of my head that left newspapers and went into ministry. And I don't know if I'm going to ever really answer the question, are journalists particularly suited to go into ministry? But it's an interesting question and one we're going to try to answer.
Yeah, that's definitely very niche right there. Very niche, as some would
It
say.
is. It is niche. Yeah. But I think
Yeah.
it's really interesting. So, mhm.
Oh yeah. Yes indeed. Yes indeed. Because it's so darn true. So darn true indeed. So my goodness, so going from believer to seeker, because folks can sit all day and believe, it's like, you know what, I believe it, and I'm believe it so much, I'm gonna sit here and be all right. I think I'll be fine. And there's like seekers, like, nah, fam, I believe it, and I'm gonna seek it. I'm gonna seek it so much, I'm gonna find new creative projects indeed. So, in addition to your creator giving you creativity, what keeps you creative?
Oh wow. Well, I mean, I just think that I'm trying to be open to a lot of the things that he's sending me. But I've always been a creative person. And I love the arts. I love writing, and I don't have a lot of time for reading, but I love writing. I do love reading when I make time for it. I do love movies, love going to see movies. I wasn't kidding when I said Netflix and chill. So that's It's fun to see. It's fun to see what people create out there. I don't really know. I don't really know why, but I've always been like that. In fact, I remember, oh gosh, this is like probably one of my earliest memories where I actually drew a little newspaper, drew it, like laid it out into like a piece of paper with stories, and it had like its own movie review on it and all of this. I don't know. I had to be maybe 4 or 5 for that. So I think I've always been led in that direction. But I am not musically creative. I'm not, musical on an instrument or can't sing, but I do like to write lyrics. And so I've written some songs with a few people and had them worked on with someone who can sing. And that's a really fun process too. And again, that's Christian music. So I really think that once I understood that I could just open myself and just all this creativity, which I think had been there for a long time, and I had been using in some ways through writing and editing, just really all came out. So like a whole bunch of projects happened at once. And it's a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Lots of fun on the bun, indeed. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right. Can't stop, won't stop. That's right. More podcasts, more creativity. That's right, indeed. That's right. There's rainbow wigs coming your way, y'all. That's right. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed, for no reason. That's right, indeed. More wonderful Bibles. That's right, indeed. That's right. Bible's bigger than your head, y'all. That's right. With plenty of space to draw. That's right, indeed. Maybe a adult Bible coloring book or a coloring Bible. Who knows? That's right, indeed.
They do make them. Yeah, they do make coloring Bible coloring books for sure. And I just have to say, some people who maybe just don't understand why anybody would want to do that, and they might think, oh, it's sacrilegious, you're actually coloring on the word. But these Bibles are made for that. They're made for that. So it's not like your regular study Bible. But yeah, they actually do have that.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Indeed, embrace that creativity side. Indeed. So my goodness. So since you've been on a bunch of these podcasts and you have a bunch of podcasts of your own, interviewing all these wonderful folks, is there a question that you wish to be asked more often when you're on the guest side of the game?
Oh wow, that's a good question. I would, first of all, you've asked me some really really good questions today. I would say probably the most important question, and I think we did tackle it a little bit today, but I would say the most important question is, what's the most important thing that we should be seeking in life? And I think we have tackled that a little bit today, but I think that's an important question because there's so much that we have around us today. I mean, we can get trapped in social media. And there's a lot of good things about social media. Now, don't get me wrong, but we can spend time in social media. We can spend time, watching TV. We can spend all this time, but what should we truly be seeking? And I think that that's a really important question. And again, my answer, it's the Lord. But I would also say it's something to think about, to actually sit down and think about, what am I making the God in my life? What am I making an idol out of in my life? And I think if we spend some time thinking about it and just even tallying up, what are we consuming? What are we consuming in our lives? I think you'll find that the answer to that.
Oh yeah, that's right indeed. Because we're in the consumption society. That's right, folks just consume mostly unconsciously. It's like, yay, the zombie apocalypse devices, the smartphones built to distract us, and then the food. That's right. That's right indeed. Just stuff yourself, and of course, information obesity, where some folks get a little too much information, and it's like, oh god, I don't know where to start. Paralysis by analysis. Make it stop. I want to make a decision, but I don't know what it is. I think I'll do nothing.
That's so true. That happens, right? You just get stuck.
Yeah, exactly. It says
Mm.
peanut butter, but it was Gorilla Glue this whole time. Oh man. So speaking of peanut butter, if your wonderful book, Whispering in His Ear, that wonderful devotion book, if it was a food, what would it be and why?
Oh my goodness. Let's see. That would be, well, it would have to be something peaceful, introspective. So what's something like that? Maybe, oh gosh, maybe like a nice, soft, sweet dessert like tiramisu or something like that. Something that just melts in your mouth, makes you feel great, makes you think about all the different flavors that you're eating, all the different spices that you're eating. That's all I'll say. My answer. My final answer is tiramisu.
You're the second one to call the book tiramisu. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm the
Indeed.
second one, really?
Yeah, that's right. Second one this year. That's right, indeed. That tiramisu, indeed. That's right, indeed. All the Italian goodness, y'all. That's right. That's right, indeed. With all the cream. That's right. With all the whispering cream. Oh, man. Well, let folks' imaginations run wild on that one. So we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive. And that is, if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're at 25 again, but you're in 2022, with all of your knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
Oh boy. So when I was 25, I was on my first second job as a journalist, right? So if it were today, knowing everything that I know, I would I it's interesting. I'm not quite sure that I would leave journalism for the ministry, which is of course what we're talking about in the second show. But I definitely would understand that I needed to do more with my faith walk, and that I might fall into the trap of just being numb in my faith and sleeping walking in my faith. So I would need to really be open to that and understand exactly what was going on with my faith walk. 25 is young, but not that young. And by that time, I had probably started to move further and further from him, unlike, when I was a little girl. So, and I wasn't knowing it. Didn't know that it was happening. So I would say to just, really understand, oh, you're in a danger zone. You're in the danger zone. You need to wake up. So that's probably what I would be telling myself.
Yeah, that's right, y'all. Don't fly into the danger zone, y'all. Don't do it. Don't play the song
Mm,
yet. Don't do it. It's a trap. It's a
nope,
trap.
that's
It's a
right.
danger zone. It's the red pen coming for your test paper in English class. Don't do it. Make a run for it. Oh.
He got jokes. He got jokes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, I jokingly say PTSD from English class. Back in my day, I almost didn't graduate high school. So bad at English. The classes, anyway. But hey, different place now, different place now. But I know folks need to go to the same place where they can find all of the Yvette Walker goodness. So for those of you that do just that and more, what's the best way for folks to do so?
Easy peasy. Go to positivelyjoy.com.
Woohoo! There you go. Positively joy, y'all. That's right. Get that joy indeed. That's right.
Yeah.
Get that joy and spread it around, y'all. That's right. That's right. See yourself as cream cheese and the world is a giant bagel. That's right. You must spread that joy around the world, y'all. I'm telling you. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. And you're better spreading it, indeed. That joy around the globe. Heck, even spreading the good word, indeed, with folks who jumped out of one M and went into another. That's right, the M&M, from media to ministry. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. And that's what I call spreading the chocolate everywhere. That M&M, indeed. So, any parting word before we close up shop, Yvette?
Well, I just want to thank you for having me on the show today. Again, just go to positivelyjoy.com and get the free resource. You can find all my books there. And I really hope that people begin to understand that joy is for everyone. It's not a feeling, though, it is faith.
Thanks a bunch for listening to this podcast episode. Hope you really enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe to this show if you haven't already, because more greatness is coming your way. And if you're so inclined, be sure to share with at least 3 other people in your network so that way more folks can catch the fire that is on the Going North podcast. Keep winning at life and advance others to advance yourself.